Hey guys, welcome back to Feather's Charm. I'm Feather and welcome to this episode of my bullet journal journey. Today I'll be creating the July spread for my bullet journal, and if you haven't checked it out already, I highly recommend you check out my June and my first pages episode just to catch up with everything that I've done so far. It'll be great if you'd like and subscribe as well. It will be very much appreciated. Right now we are just flipping through my June spread, and as you can see I have been a very busy girl, filling up all the daily parts of the weekly spreads. And if you've already seen the previous episode, the June episode, you can see that the area that was blank in those videos I actually filled up with a word of the week and my sleep log, just so that I could keep track of that, and you never know what kind of words you come across during the week. So as you can see, my last week was very bare and sparse. It's because I actually recorded this and made this episode the week before so that I could prepare for July and for you guys, so I can upload this video on the 1st of July. Okay, so let's get into it. I start off with using these Everblend markers by Arteza. This one is in Lilac P25, but I do stop using it because, as you'll probably see in the next few minutes, you'll see why. But I actually create this sort of superimposed calligraphy standard uppercase kind of title because I had seen this done a couple of times before and I actually liked the way it looked, so I thought might as well use it in this one. And as you can see, I use the uni-pin fine liner by Uni-ball in 0.8. The next pen that I use is the Staedtler Triplus Color Fiber Tip pen. These pens I absolutely adore. They've been with me for the last, 5-6 years, and they have not run out on me yet. And again, I use the Staedtler double-ended fiber tip, as you see in my previous episodes as well. These ones are actually really, really useful for me as well. So if you can't afford, the high-end like Arteza or acrylographs from Archer and Olive and all those big branded names, you can definitely go with this one. This one's with Staedtler. Staedtler is one of the best pens I know on the high street. Now, as you can see, I also use a Papermate Flare. I don't actually use this again later in the spread, purely because the color of it wasn't quite the color I was going for. It starts out a similar lilac lavender kind of color, but it just turns a little more blue after a while, and I'd rather not use it again. So as you saw there, I used the Arteza Everblend again for the rose, and I used the Arteza Real brush pens. I think it's in Crocodile Green for the leaves here. As you know, I'm a big fan of Arteza Real brush pens. This is not a sponsored video. I just absolutely love their pens, and the same with Staedtler. I'm not sponsored by them. I just love using their pens as well, which, as you can see, I use for the stars at the top here, and I outline them with my uni-pin pen as well. And again, uni-pin, uni-ball, all the brands that I use here, I'm not sponsored by them. And there you have it. As well, the bleed in the page was absolutely heartbreaking for me. I would have loved to use the Everblend markers, but not to worry. I do take a few pages out of the back just to cover up that little boo-boo there, and I just carry on. So we are diving right into the monthly overview like I did with the June spread. This time I chose to make the boxes a little smaller because I wanted to try a different style, which I was inspired by some of the other YouTube videos out there, bloggers and bullet journalists, and I found this quite cute, so I kind of stuck with this style throughout July. So as you can see here, I'm just creating the borders for the calendar, the main monthly calendar, and I had wanted to start off with just outlining the dates, but I obviously forget at the very end, so it's all kind of outlined here in the purple, so that way the boxes are pretty much uniform. And down here I create the days of note and monthly tasks boxes as well, like I did with the June spread. So a lot of this will be sort of similar, it's just stylized a little differently than the June spread. So as you can see, instead of using the whole paint smears or brush smeared kind of look, I actually box it out with color. If you're wondering why I haven't actually used the calligraphy pens that I used before, if you've watched my previous episodes, I wanted to do something a little cleaner than what I did for June. While I loved June and its free-spirited style, I wanted a little more uniformity in this video, or in this month. So for the title of the page, I actually decided to create a little sort of leaf motif here. So the leaf, the purple, the lavender, they're sort of the motifs and the theme for this month. Now the pen that I was using actually for the leaves, that was actually kind of leaking, so I had to think of a way to define the leaves, so I outlined them with the uni-pin pen. And yes, the rose does come back. I think for the most part the rose will be a running theme throughout the whole bullet journal. And here you can see I'm adding the stars in the yellow. So I previously just did smaller doodles of the stars, but I thought let's make the stars a little bigger this time and give them a little bit of color, so that's what I did here. Okay, so we're moving on to my monthly trackers, and I did a similar spread to what I did in June, purely because I liked the way it looked and I liked the little doodle in the middle. But instead of the Instagram posts that I post up, I decided to track the followers there as well. So although I have a main tracker on my first pages trackers, I thought it would be a good idea to check out when new followers follow me on Instagram, just so that I know, you know, what kind of content needs to be made and how. And as you can see, I doodle little stars at the beginning of these months, purely because for the Instagram follower tracker, I accidentally started the month in the wrong box. So that's why there are stars there. And as you can see, the quote for the month is, "The past is over and I am moving on." And I think that's apt because of this little mishap with the Everblend markers. I was so bummed about it for a while. And as you can see, I'm adding a little bit of washi tape to the joint, purely because the pages that I had glued on still had a little gap there, so I wanted to cover it up with the washi tape. It doesn't carry through to the rest of the month. I wish I had, but there just wasn't enough space. Maybe if I had B5 size journal, it would have worked, but this is actually an A5 book and it just didn't. So as you can see, the rose again comes back. I use the Arteza Real Brush pens again. They're my absolute go-to because I can doodle and I can draw and paint and do whatever I want with them, and they would make these really, really pretty looking doodles. Now in my previous June spread, the lines in the middle here were just dots and lines, but I decided to make this one into vines of leaves, and I think it makes it look cool. It makes it a little more earthy. Now the idea here with the purple lavender kind of looking things, they were meant to be stalks of lavender, but because I overdid it, it just looks pretty messy. Even now I'm thinking, why did I do that? I should have done it like halfway through the line, but hey, that's how I did it. I can't go back. I mean, I can say they could be very thin feathers. So let's leave it at that. They're very thin feathers. So it harkens back to my Feathers Charm channel. And here I'm just adding the key to my my trackers. And I am creating the leaf motif at the top here. And there you have it, my monthly review, my monthly trackers, and the title page for this month. So let us dive into the main weekly spread. So I wanted to change it up a little bit in terms of the layout. So I keep the whole sort of 4 boxes on one side for the dailies, and the trackers on the other side, and I actually elongate the dailies purely because after experiencing the half pages in June, I know that I tend to describe my tasks pretty extensively, so I had to create the boxes a little more wide. So that's what I did here, and I created the trackers a little more tightly. So as you can see, there isn't much space for the titles of my trackers, my habits. So instead of meditation, I say mind to remind me I need to meditate. Or I put down crafts instead of project progress or things like that. So they're shortened versions of my titles for my habits, but it does help because the dailies are actually a lot more important for me. And as you can see, I still keep a gratitude box, so I still need to work on my gratitudes, and I am slowly but surely getting there. And if you've noticed, I do make a little bit of a mistake on the last dailies box, purely because I wasn't paying attention. I do remember every now and then that, oh no, I leave a line out at the very bottom, but that's absolutely fine. I can always doodle over them. I'm sure I'll figure something out to cover up that mistake. And as you can see, I add a few little doodles in the dailies box, purely because it was looking a little bare, if I'm being honest, just being boxes of color. So I thought, let's add a few doodles here and there just to spice things up a little. Now on the other side of the weekly page, I do keep my weekly tasks because they are pretty necessary for me, but I also include my sleep log, so I carried that through from June, and I actually create another box. This one I did because I'm still learning, and I am learning different languages, and this month for July I am learning Korean, so Hangul, and I wanted to track my progress, so I will note down one word that I find difficult every week. I'll probably actually have 2 or 3, purely because it is a pretty difficult language to learn, especially if you haven't learnt their sentence structures before. Now the reason I actually keep my sleep log running through into July is because I had a very unrealistic expectation of what I had expected to sleep for. So my expectation was to sleep for 8 hours, but because of various different projects and various different things, I don't. So this month I'm trying to keep it more realistic. So while I sleep not greatly, but 6.5 hours on average, I'm hoping to increase that by another half hour to 7 hours. So hopefully I do get enough sleep, and this month I will be tracking them as 6.5 hours to 7 hours, so I don't always black out the sleep log. If you've noticed, I do actually change up the doodles as well sometimes. So the stars and the leaves are all in different corners of every page, of every box, and things like that. I kind of like the change, because it's not. Although I wanted a little more uniformity, it's still a little more free-spirited with the different angles and the different positions of the stars and the leaves. You can see I struggle with my ruler sometimes, and that's because it's a metal ruler and it's a big ruler for a small book. And don't worry, I will be getting a smaller ruler so that it doesn't hinder my basically me creating the borders of my bullet journal, because while I like the bigger ruler, it is cumbersome. It sometimes catches on things and I get pretty frustrated with it. If you've noticed, sometimes the exposure on my camera does change. Sometimes it gets really, 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 really bright. Other times it's very, very dark. But that's only because I was doing this on a very sunny day, and it just happened to be pretty sunny at some points of the video and pretty cloudy at others. And I thought, let's play around with the exposure of my camera, of my phone. And it doesn't work out sometimes. I'm so sorry. if you are sensitive to bright lights and bright flashes, I'm so sorry. I only noticed it after I started editing this video. You can see that I sometimes forget that I need to highlight the calendar. That's my fault. I do forget. Like, I have so many things going on in my mind, and I actually create these spreads after a long day at work. So it's a thing that I need to work on. I'm hoping one day I can work on all of this full time, but for the meantime, I'm still working full time. So if I do forget something, I will go back and I will fix it. But for these videos, if it isn't fixed, or if you guys notice something that I don't worry, I fix it later on when I do actually use my bullet journal. As you can see, the exposure on my camera is starting to change, and the shadows are starting to pop up from the sunny day. So I am very sorry if you have sensitivity to this sort of thing. You can skip this part. It's just literally me creating the rest of the bullet journal, the rest of the July spread. If you've also noticed, I've changed up the way my habits are tracked. So instead of the little circles that I did back in June, I do these sort of pixel boxes, and I absolutely love these pixel boxes because I just like the way they look. I use them in my yearly trackers back when I was bullet journaling like crazy in 2020, 2021. And I liked the little patterns that they made when I filled in a box when I was tracking my things like crazy. I don't know if I'm going to continue using the pixel box style. I know that it's one of the simpler ones that you can even do without having to be an artist, but for me specifically, the pixel boxes are one of my favorite styles. So who knows, I might continue doing them in August, but we'll see when we get there. So for my journal this month, I do actually use the uni-ball roller pen for some of the titles rather than the uni-pin pen, purely because the uni-ball pen is easier to write with because it's liquid ink, whereas the uni-pin is fiber tip, so it's a little harder to create titles with. Okay, so we are now on to the final page, which is the monthly overview. I do keep the same or similar style as the one that I did with my June spread. I think I'm going to keep this style throughout the whole year, purely because they're easier to manage. So the totals are how many habits I managed to complete. The monthly overview section where I have my little diary moment, that is actually a good amount of space. I wouldn't need too much. I wouldn't need the full page like I used to. So I think this was a good style of page. So I'm pretty happy with this style. And it gives me an opportunity to flex a little bit of my doodle creativity. I know I repeat the rose pattern here, but who knows, I might create a different kind of moment in that corner there. I might use washi tape, or I might actually try to doodle something a little more complicated, like, I don't know, a coffee cup. I know coffee cups can be a little simple, but you know, we'll see. And as you can see, I create the little stars again. This time I make them a little bigger. Okay, so that is it. We are just going to flip through my July spread just quickly, just so that you can see in full what I've done. And as you can see, I do a few little doodles in the calendar itself to cover up the days that aren't being used. Well, that's it from me today, you guys. I am so happy with this spread. I love it, and I cannot wait to use it. So yeah, if you do like my content, as I said, please like and subscribe and follow me for more. You can check out my website and my social media, which you'll find me most on Instagram and on TikTok, and here on YouTube. And as always, be kind, be creative, and be unique. I'll see you later. Feather out.